moving on to topic number 2, where we're going to talk about Jalen Suggs. And in my opinion, he really was the player of the tournament. Even with losing the championship game, I still believe he was the best player in the tournament. And he kind of proved that all along the way. And that shot that he hit in the Final Four can go down as, one of the best shots of all time.
Yeah, no question. I actually thought, one of the best shots of all time, one of the best games of all time. One thing you look at that UCLA-Gonzaga game was that, a lot of people thought, including myself, that Gonzaga was just going to steamroll UCLA because Gonzaga had, their entire starting five can score. They run it. Their offense was so, it was just like a well-oiled machine. You have guys that can shoot. You have guys that go to the basket. You have scoring inside with Timmy. You have guys that can run in transition, especially Jalen Suggs, obviously. But then UCLA, they had a few guys that just wouldn't give up, and they were just so much fun to watch. So I think the fact that it was, sort of a David versus Goliath almost type of scenario, even though UCLA historically has been, the Goliath in college basketball. But this year it was a 1 seed versus an 11 seed. Again, UCLA's not an 11 seed. They're much better than that. But they had guys that were unbelievable in that game. Jalen Suggs actually didn't play that great in that game until, when it counted. He made that great block. Some people thought it was a foul. It's so close. I'm not going to debate that. I think that's crazy. And then he came down after he made that block, grabbed the loose ball, and threw an awesome pass in transition for a layup and kind of just turned the game around. I thought Gonzaga might have lost in the Final Four. And then you watch the end of the game, and UCLA scores that basket on the follow-up at the very end of overtime. And then, of course, Suggs comes back with that shot. And it's just we just missed this so much last year. We didn't have the NCAA tournament. That's what we were missing, was that last second, the stress of the fans of the two teams, or if you got a bracket, you've got a ton of money on the game, or just whatever. It's just you didn't have this last year. And this is what we missed as college basketball fans, as sports fans, watching a game like that in the Final Four especially. I think everybody was just so happy that we could have something like that here in 2021.
No, I agree. That was the game that America needed to say, hey, college basketball is here and the tournament's back. And that was the excitement that we all look for from this tournament. But UCLA came to play, and they really came to play for both halves of the game, end to end, and really showing that, hey, UCLA is a basketball powerhouse, and they really showed it. And we were talking about how their conference has really showed up in the tournament, and I think they were probably the best of their conference here. And hey, watch this show next year, because I think, and I'm predicting now, UCLA is going to make another run, and I think they're going to be a much higher seed in the tournament next year with all this experience. But it was just one of those things where I've got two things. As a fan, when UCLA hit that comeback, that putback layup, I was thinking of Tyus Edney going coast to coast in the 90s for UCLA and winning the game. But then, obviously, Jalen Suggs gets the ball and hits the shot from the logo off the glass. And that was just extremely exciting, for the win. But as a coach, you're thinking, first off, when UCLA got that putback, it's like, oh, my God, oh, no. You can't give an offensive rebound at that point, and you certainly can't give an uncontested putback, which they did. But then quickly, Gonzaga recovered. No timeout called, so good coaching, good players. No timeout was called. They just recovered quickly, knew what they had to do, which was get the ball to their best player. And I think this proves that in basketball, when you have the best player on the court, sometimes they can just shine so much and control the game and win the game. And that's exactly what he did. Just seconds left on the clock. One chance to win the game, and Jalen Suggs hits the big shot to win the game. And so I really do think that is the play of the tournament, the moment of the tournament, and the game of the tournament, because the championship game was such a runaway. So I think more people will remember that UCLA-Gonzaga game throughout history than they will that championship game. But here's another great thing about Jalen Suggs. This kid is legit. He had Power 5 school offers in football coming out of Minnesota, was the first guy in Minnesota history to win Mr. Basketball and Mr. Football for high school. So that's like winning the Gatorade Player of the Year. So this is the first guy to do it in the state. and then he comes out, shows what he can do at Gonzaga. I'm really looking forward to seeing what this kid can do in the NBA. And it's just whether he comes back to Gonzaga next year, which I believe he will. I believe he'll come back for at least one more year, but then I think maybe he's going to have to make the jump. And I know you're saying that, but hey, if he's a lottery pick, it could change. If people see him as a lottery pick, I think you have to leave. But either way, I want to see this guy in the NBA because I want to see what he can do. And hey, Celtics, you got all that trade exception stuff. Hey, let's get Jalen Suggs, man.
I would love Jalen Suggs at the Celtics. He's exactly what they need: toughness. A point guard who can fly up and down the floor, doesn't have to score to make an impact. I don't think it's happening. He's going to be, I think, a top 5 pick in the draft this year. But I would love him on the Celtics. Yeah, Suggs, great player. He's not as good as Cade Cunningham. I think Cunningham has more skills overall, plus his size. But I love watching Jalen Suggs. He does bring a sort of a football mentality to basketball, just by the way he flies up and down the court, and just kind of plays with reckless abandon too. Isn't afraid to go to the basket. And you forget he's just a freshman. All these guys are so good now. Their freshman seasons, and we've seen it, for the past decade or so with all these freshmen and the impact they make on college basketball now. Where I remember watching Tim Duncan in college and being like, this guy's nasty, and he's only a junior. And it's like now it's if you're a junior, you're old in college basketball.